with our first guest, Ross Victory. He is an author. He did a book by the name of Views of a Cockpit. So it's kind of sort of touching bases on mental health and gun violence. So what stemmed you to write this book? Was it like a healing?
Absolutely. So pretty much the loss of my dad 2 years ago to cancer kind of put me in this mental space to where I had to address our relationship. I had to figure out what to do next. He was a very present force in my life. And so after his loss, and while I was in therapy kind of uncovering and unpacking what all of this meant, because actually he was sick and he didn't really tell anyone. So when we found out, it was just kind of, chaos. So during that therapeutic process, I was thinking, how can I was committed to my own healing, and I didn't want this situation to break me. And I was thinking, how can I really take a step forward just for myself? And so I came up with this book. Of course, it was entitled Views from the Cockpit. It started off as journal entries, actually. So just journals that I would write to myself about how I was feeling. So for example, my dad, his third wife was from China. And when he was sick, I found him kind of being abused and mistreated in his own house. I mean, food was being withheld from him. He was living, not being taken to the restroom, so he was actually in Bulgaria and all of this. And so just coping with all those realities, I had to write it out. And so eventually, 2 years later, it turned into this book. And it's really been a step forward in my healing. I mean, by the day I feel freer. There was a point in my dad's loss where I felt like, it's unrecoverable. Like, how could this happen? Especially he was a man of God, right? So you can't imagine horrible things happening to people who attach themselves to Christ. So, I had to digest all of that. And even, as the days go by, I just feel freer and freer. When I think back on his memory, I feel more joy and thankful for the experiences that we had instead of, that gap. And this is what it is now.
Okay. At the moment you came to terms with the man that your father was, how did that change your life, and how did that make you feel?
There's a lot of anger, of course. There's a lot of disappointment because I have brothers and sisters, and so we would all compare notes, of course, like many kids do about their parents, or like, why do they talk like this? What did they do like this? And so I was kind of blind to a lot of his antics, and I'll call it antics, especially with women. So him and my mom were married 31 years, and there was a lot of things that were happening outside of the marriage. So I had him on this pedestal, right? Because like I said, he's in the church. We go to church all the time. I couldn't see the real. I'll call it the real. But yeah, it was really hard. But that is what it is. Truth is what it is. I mean, you have to accept it to move on. I didn't want anything like that to break me. He still gifted me a lot of memories and a lot of experiences. And so I have to take the good and the bad, right? You can't just pick and choose what you want out of someone's personality. You have to take it all and hope and lean into the light, lean into the good parts.
Right. Because I feel like as you come to terms, you're an adult, and you still view your parent as your parent, and you're not able to process a lot of your pain sometimes that you've gone through as a kid. Because I think people don't realize how much you can damage a child. You know what I mean? And everything, no matter what we have or went through as an adult, it always stems from our childhood. Always. But to be able to then step back and be able to separate your parent from the human that they are. You know what I mean? Like, it then helps with the process of healing, because you then look at them as a human being, like a woman or a man, just like anybody else that has flaws and things of that sort. You know what I mean?
They're a full person.
Absolutely. And it's crazy because I feel like previous generations, we've always seen them sweep issues under the rug and, just pray over it and it's going to be okay, And I feel like your Oprahs, your Ibala and your Dr. Phil interrupted that and started a conversation. And then I feel like probably your 30s, 40s, that generation, then started crying for help. You know what I mean? Like, because it was no longer okay to be able to just sweep it on the rug, because now it's becoming a huge problem.
Yeah.
So where would you like to see us when it comes to mental health?
You know, and kind of to how you opened with the gun violence part, I feel like a lot of people in our community, in the world, don't have a way to express themselves, right? So there's a lot of gun violence that actually manifests itself in suicide due to mental health. So I would like people to, you know, look behind the curtain. I call it look behind the curtain of your life. So if we look at life as a production, what's going on behind the curtain? Don't be afraid to look behind the curtain to see what goes on and how, you know, your life is built, and just take ownership. I feel like ownership of experience is the first step to mental wellness. And there's a lot of people who are losing their life, taking their life, damaging relationships that they care about because they don't have an outlet. And so my stance is write it out, sing it out, scream it out, don't hurt yourself. And those things are okay. Specifically for Black men and men in general, you know, I think there's a lot of times where we're expected to, you know, just man up, take it, you know, high five, keep it going. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, we are full people, and I think sometimes in my situation, I was a sensitive child. So, you know, I like to create, I like to write, I like to sing, and I think my parents, just from their upbringing, they didn't know how to, you know, what do you do with somebody who has feelings? Like, what, we out here, we soldiers. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
So, you know, I think it's very dynamic, but don't be afraid of whatever it is, you know, and express yourself. And I think Black people, it's okay to express yourself. Expression comes in a lot of different ways. As you see, there's a lot of talented artists here. We all have a channel and a method to do so.
Yes.
Now, before we continue with the question, I just want everybody to give a victory for Ross, brother, because brother out here is really dropping knowledge on y'all gems. Please collect them. If you hear them, please grab it. It's knowledge. One thing, brother, I really wanted just to zoom in on the fact of what you were saying about, you know, just being a Black man out here, and just how, you know, your family wouldn't know how to kind of deal with you based off, you know, because they want you to be hard, you know what I'm saying? You're not really hardcore, but just hard, you know what I'm saying? To be a hard individual, but you grew up with feelings. You feel me? You feel me? Because I was brought up around like all women, but I still have men in my family. But the men in my family, they was all gang related. You feel me? So in their eyes, I was a mark. You feel me? Because I wasn't doing what they was doing, but at the same time, I'm still family, I'm still kin. You feel me? But they don't know how to deal with me because I'm not like everybody. You feel me? I don't do everything everybody do, but you know, it's funny because it's like a lot of stuff you were saying just really like hit me, bro, because it's like my mom passed away 4 years ago, and a lot of stuff she say now reiterates to me now that I'm getting older. Just like deal with the people that do what you do, you feel me? And also, you know what I'm saying, it's like, you know what I'm saying, everything you do will not always be understood. You feel me? And it's like you don't have to break down who you are to make anybody else feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I haven't got to read your book, brother, but I really want to read your book right now just because, man, it just I feel it, bro. I feel it, just the topic at hand, just because it haven't been talked about before. You feel me? Nobody really talked about their parents in the eyes of normality. You feel me? Usually because we all see our parents on a pedestal. We all put them on there. You feel me? Because that's who our hero is. That's who our atlas. You feel me? That's who hold the world over their shoulders, but we won't have to bear it. You feel me? So of course they gonna always be put on a pedestal, but damn, they normal people. They just like everybody else. They have problems just like everybody. They do things just like everybody else. They people. You know what I'm saying? And then once you see they people, it's like, right? It clicked on me.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know, I have a lot of friends who are having kids right now. I'm in that generation where everybody has, like, you know, a newborn or a 1 or 2 year old. And a few of my friends were talking about all of a sudden they got it just by giving birth to a child. They're like, oh, so there's not a plan. And so now we have to construct a life for this little person. And so my view from the cockpit, right, which is a metaphor for life perspective, is, okay, so this is the life that was constructed. Am I going to choose that, or am I going to build something for myself? And so, I have to look at everything in full, and just call it what it is and heal and move forward. And that's my message to everybody.
Yes, and you're listening to Hotwordz Lyrical Theater, and we are at KLIQ. So I definitely understand that mental health is a huge issue, but I also feel like we always put labels and put each other's in box, and it doesn't help with the pressure and the things that are going on at home. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's a breath of fresh air to be able to have a book, to be able to try to start the conversations in your home. You know what I mean? Because we're all guilty of that, putting them with all kind of labels, like, oh, you're a girl, you're a boy, like, why can't I just be me? You know what I mean? Like, I'm human. Like, why do we need so much labels? And then, of course, we have social media, and it's I feel like that made everything horrible. It's just everything in the forefront to be able to, like, taunt people and just kind of mess everything up, because we're not given the tools, right? With your book, we definitely are, but we're not given the tools to be able to handle this. And I think that it's very important for people to know it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to go to therapy. I feel like as our race, it's so not okay and not cool, but it's so cool to go to therapy. It's okay to ask for help. It really is. Like, because when you realize you can't do everything on your own.
Yeah. You can't fake it on your own either.
At all. You are going to melt and break down, and who knows, but you just have to grasp the idea that you're not alone. I'm not here by myself. We have a team. So everybody needs help in all aspects of your life. You know what I mean? And like you said, if it's poetry or singing or dancing or whatever the avenue is that you need to release it. You know what I mean? And start the healing process. Like, let's start it. Let's start the healing process. So if your book was going to be a movie, who are the two actors that you would have play yourself and your father?
And my father, wow. So I'll just go. So the first part, a lot of people have said, Queen Sugar, of course, which is on the OWN network. Yeah, and I just looked up the guy's name who plays Monika. His name is Nicholas Ashley. Okay. So a lot of people have come up to me like, oh, he looks like a younger version of you. So okay, so let's go with the guy from Queen Sugar, Nicholas Ashley. As far as my dad. So my dad was a very dynamic person, world traveler, missionary, writer, poet, all this stuff, military man. I can't even think, I don't know who you guys would suggest who has just the scope and the range to be able to go there. I mean, my first thought would be someone like a Denzel, but more, I feel like someone more senior than Denzel, even more senior.
I got you. I know you got. I know it is. You've been in Slum. Just think about it for a second.
Yeah, maybe it's not a name too. We forget, not everybody who's bomb, is famous. So just someone who has scope and range, someone who can embody the characteristics of my dad, which were charisma, heart. He was also a very strategic man. He was funny, and may he rest in peace.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for covering the issues at hand. That is amazing. Thank you for that. We want to just real quick do